Raghu was a man of precise numbers. As a middle-class accountant, his entire world was governed by a daily mental ledger: the cost of his mother's medication, his daughter's school fees, and the exact grocery balance. That balance was wiped out on a Tuesday morning. His company closed its doors without warning, and the income he had relied on for years simply ceased to exist. When we look at the mechanics of a financial collapse, it's rarely about a slow decline. Here, the income bar flatlined instantly, while the non-negotiable costs, the medicine and the tuition, turned bright red and began to compound. This shows how fragile middle-class stability actually is. For Raghu, like millions of others, the distance between a comfortable home and total insolvency was exactly one missing paycheck. Desperate to bridge the gap, Raghu liquidated his final asset, a small plot of ancestral land, and combined it with a high-interest loan. He handed it all to his friend Srinu, hoping a new business partnership would save his family. It was a transaction rife with risk, and it failed immediately. Srinu took the capital and disappeared overnight, leaving Raghu with nothing but the debt. The consequences reached his front door within weeks. With the rent unpaid, his wife had to take her sacred wedding necklace to a pawn shop just to keep the lights on. In the middle of this, his father suffered a heart attack. With no savings and no credit, Raghu was forced to borrow from local loan sharks at predatory rates to pay for the emergency surgery. Then the final hammer fell. Accused in a fraud case he didn't commit, and with the police closing in, Raghu fled his home, leaving his family behind to hide as a laborer in the backwoods. When the financial foundation of a life breaks, it takes everything else with it: a person's legal safety, their social standing, and eventually their presence in their own home. For months, Raghu lived as a ghost. He worked anonymous, back-breaking shifts in distant villages, a man with no past and no foreseeable future. Then, by pure chance, he saw Srinu in a crowded marketplace. The man who had stolen his future was standing right there. Raghu's first instinct wasn't justice, it was a violent physical need for revenge. He stopped himself. He walked to the local police station instead and handed Srinu over. Even as the handcuffs clicked, Raghu had to face the reality that his money was gone and would never be recovered. By letting go of the hope of getting his old life back, Raghu stopped calculating what he was owed and began focusing on what he could build with his hands. He took a job as a server in a small, disorganized hotel. But he didn't just serve food, he used his accountant's eye to track every rupee of waste, every peak hour of customer traffic, and the exact margins on every dish. This diagram illustrates his growth logic. He showed the owner how to cut waste and increase turnover, took a small percentage of profits, and reinvested every paisa. That single hotel multiplied into a second, then a third, following a strict mathematical model for expansion. He leveraged those profits to buy out struggling competitors, eventually growing the operation into a massive multi-crore tiffin center empire that spanned the entire region. By the time 5 years had passed, Raghu had cleared every debt and built a fortune that dwarfed his previous life. On paper, his recovery was total. Raghu finally returned to his family, arriving with the belief that his millions would serve as a simple correction for the years of struggle he had caused. He found a home filled with expensive things, but no room for him. His daughter, now a young woman, looked at him with the polite distance of a stranger. His wife's eyes showed no anger, only a total, hollowed-out indifference. Then came the medical diagnosis. The years of stress and manual labor had triggered a severe terminal condition in his body. In that moment, the math of his life changed. His immense, multi-core empire could not buy health, and it couldn't buy back the 5 years of school plays, birthdays, and conversations he had missed while chasing the money. Life is certainly not a simple balance sheet. You can win the financial war and still end up entirely bankrupt. True wealth is only measured by the time you spend with the people who love you, because that is the only asset that doesn't appreciate once you're gone.